We're doing it. We're going live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. There's the swearing in the first couple seconds because over here on the Metal Theologian channel, we're not bothered by that sort of thing. Yeah, so I'm listening to, God, all these weird pop-ups. Are you even watching this shit? See if anyone shows up. This is kind of a little experiment here. I don't really do this very often, so. Hey, Mick is always the first one. Dude, I don't know. How the hell do you do it? Do you have like notifications for every single channel on your phone? You're always first, dude. Maybe it's just that you and I watch the same streams, so like it's the ones that I see where you're on first, and like there might be 20 others where you're not, but I'm just not watching those either, so. Because there are kind of a lot of shitty streams these days. And there are a lot that are a mixed bag, which is one reason why I don't do this too often, because I don't want to, I don't want to spread myself too thin, you know? Hey, right on. Thanks for showing up, guys. I appreciate it. Seriously, right on. Hey. That's hilarious. Well, that's a good strategy. I do that. Even when I get the notifications, though, man, I'm slow on the draw. So Heavy Metal Obscurities really made me happy that you found my channel because I've kind of been a fan of yours for a while. So, not so much like a subscription, like get the notifications type thing as much as like a research tool. And you know the kind of shit that I show. So you're probably not surprised at all to hear that shit. There we go. So Dark comes from the cold north is saying, is this the NSBM only chat? And I will sit here and own the fact that that is me getting a taste of my own medicine because every time I go on one of these other fucking streams, I'm always making NSBM jokes. So if you don't know what NSBM is, you can look it up. But we're not going to be talking about it very much here. It is funny shit, though, man. Just that it exists. Anyway. So, yeah, this is sort of whatever. The music isn't overpowering or anything, is it? Have to wait 6 seconds now or whatever it takes for that to come up. Yeah, anyway, I'm listening to this Witch Cross record. See, if I had my shit together, I would have had this thing to hand. But yeah, I busted this guy out. It's not backwards, by the way, is it? Let me know if it is, because that always seems amateurish as hell. But yeah, I kind of forgot about this thing. This has always been one of those records that other people like a lot. Like enough that I sort of wanted to check it out and spend a little time with it. And I've gotten to the point where I do really like this record, but I haven't fallen in love with it the way some people have, And so a couple of weeks ago, Alan was hyping it on Let's Talk Metal. And so I was like, yeah, I should pull that thing out again. That was actually a really fun stream anyway. Because, oh shit, man, I have some shit over here and it's all falling all over the place. Yeah, my organizational skills leave something to be desired. Thanks, Mick. Glad it's not backwards. Anyway, yeah, the stream when Dan Edmond from the Colosseum was on was a really fun one. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch it because they just talk about. I mean, if you watch my channel, it's that kind of shit. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things that I went and checked out because Dan had hyped him on the Colosseum, so it was really cool to see him up there, like talking about some of the same shit. And I know these records now, I'm not sure I'm buying it with. Are you talking about Witch Cross as being a hard rock version of a Merciful Fate Heavy Metal Obscurities? Because I'm not sure I'm buying it, but let me listen to it a little bit more and see if I come around on that. It definitely has more of a hard rock vibe. For some reason, I got into my head that this is more like a speed metal band, and they're really not. There's something really charming about the sound of this record, I think. It's really, it's a sort of record where even if maybe I don't love the songs, it kind of makes me feel good to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? It's like metal works on different levels, That's one reason why I listen to so much shit, because it doesn't always have to be good, Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be giving away any records, but there are a few that I've kind of been unloading. There's actually something kind of expensive that I want to get for myself. So I'm Okay, I can let go of a few things here, but was posting some shit on Discogs early and realized there are a few records that I have that I actually have like multiple copies of. Before COVID, I was thinking about starting to set up at record shows, so I was sort of, picking and choosing and sort of trying to slowly accumulate a little bit of a stash. Because I go to these record shows, at least here in South Carolina or here in Charleston, people are always looking for metal. The metal always moves really fast, but it's hard to get good shit, right? So it isn't really. I was thinking it'd be really easy for me to get like a stash of shit that would be well curated, and if I'm standing there hyping it, I can talk people into buying shit, So if anyone's interested in any of this shit. Yeah, I'm getting rid of a couple Deliverance records because I just have more than I need. And there's some expensive ones that I don't want to show because, I don't want to be like chiseling people on my channel. That just doesn't feel right. But like, if you need a copy of this Graven Image record, let me know because I have a bunch of them. And I also have a couple copies of this Leather Nun record. And these are reissues. These aren't like expensive. These are like $20 records that we're looking at here or something like that. And this Valhalla record is great too. Yeah, a couple more. In Death of Steve Sylvester by Death SS. I don't have a ton of all of these. I have a couple copies of this Jag Panzer too. Ample Destruction. Now I'm not giving this shit away. I want to, I want to make my money back and maybe a couple bucks on top. I'm doing this, as a means to an end. But COVID kind of killed the whole sort of record show thing anyway for me. So I sort of just have these records sitting around, So, hey, Joe Marino, thanks for joining. Yeah, I don't know. It's really easy to sort of sit and talk about records, I think. That's all. It's a fun one. So, all right. So is there anything y'all want to see? Since we're doing this live, one thing I've thought about doing is like a 5 random records type deal, but you all get to pick. So you can sort of, see what I have, If you want to like, oh, do you have an original of this thing? You can just ask directly and it'll be put up or shut up for me. So if you have some of those, I'll totally entertain them. Hey, VK, I was hoping you'd show up. And welcome Metal Overkill, too. I almost texted you, VK, but I was like, nah, I don't want to be fucking self-aggrandizing doing that shit. You know what I've been really into? Let's see if I can, like, put some of these comments up there. There we go. I forgot I can do this shit. So there we go. Here's the thing. So you say not really vocal wise with this, and the guy does not sound like King Diamond, and he's not doing sort of the alternating, like with sort of the mid-range and the falsetto shit the way King Diamond does, right? But there's something about sort of his tone and the way the lines are structured where I do see a little bit, I can hear a little bit of similarity with King Diamond's singing style. So as far as hard rock, I don't know. I mean, this does sound pretty unapologetically metal. I was listening to that Centaurus record the other day. I haven't had a copy of Blue Moves in about 30 years. Do I have the original The First Strike? From Oklahoma, that band? I think I know which one you're talking about, Metal Mayhem. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is a really fun record. Here, let me put this one up here. Oh, shit. I'm getting all disorganized here. I was going to show you some fucking soul jazz records, too. Because everybody loves soul jazz. I think... this is the record we discussed here. Is that the one you're talking about? I think this record's a little bit mediocre, to tell you the truth. But, something? Here, I see what you're saying with the hard rockin' vibe. If that's what you mean by hard rock, yeah, okay, we're on the same page now, dude. I totally get it. And I'm glad you took the time because I love dissecting shit like this, as I'm sure you've noticed. All right. Anyway, Metal Mayhem, man. Is this the one you were thinking of? It's a cool record. You want to know why I sought this out? Because LJ had a copy. And it was sort of on my radar anyway. But when I saw it in LJ's video, I got jelly. And I was like, oh, I fucking need it now. You know what I mean? I really liked the first Carnivore record a lot. I actually got that at when I first moved back from Germany in like 1988. There was a record store. I don't remember what it was called at the time. It had been a Melody Lane, which I think was a chain in the Midwest, but it might have just been like one or two stores or something like that. I think it had changed hands while I was out of the country, but not too long after that, they closed and they got bought out by the Record Exchange, which is the record store I ended up working at a couple of years later. So, because I got to know the people who worked there and shit, right? So, it's one of those things. Steve, yeah, regarding the price tags, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into money because I kind of find that distasteful, but don't forget there's a big difference between what people are asking for on Discogs and what shit actually costs. So, I mean, PopPsych is a much better resource for that kind of shit, so. Yeah, and that's not infallible either because you can see huge fluctuations and shit. But there's one Greek guy on there who I'm pretty sure just has a shit on there, and it's sort of like, if someone really wants to give me $500 for this 45, then I'll take it. You know what I mean? And it's hard to fault him. Like if I have a record that's a $50 record, and you want to give me $500 for it, I'll take it and buy myself another copy of the $50 record. I might even pay $100 for it and go fucking nuts, right? So it's like I don't really blame him on the one hand, but it's like if you see that and you don't know anything and think, oh my God, that's an expensive record. It's like it's probably an expensive record, but it's probably not that expensive, So yeah, I'll tell you the value of each of the records. I do like talking about deals I got once in a while though. Yeah, so Mr. Deadwax, if you want to see any, I'm taking requests for records to show. So that's sort of how some of that shit came up because Steve, I think it is, Metal Mayhem. Yeah, he wanted to see that one. So let's set that one down. Yeah, this is what I was listening to before, though. It was actually the first time I ever busted this one out. I really like Big John Patton. And I don't know, I got this one really cheap and I kind of hated the cover compared with these Blue Notes. So I kind of ignored it. But it's a really good record. And it has Harold Alexander on sax, which you don't see very often. But yeah, man. Like I sort of felt like hearing the metal right now, but I've been listening to a lot of soul jazz the last couple of days. Big John Patton and some Freddie Roach too, like that one. Or that's kind of my favorite cover. Shit, I'm trying to drop all the shit to show it off, like in a way that you can recognize. All right. What else do you want to talk about? You want to talk about how language is changing? Maybe I should have someone up if you're going to do something like that. Does anyone know this band Rollerball? This fucking record is awesome. It's a really weird one. Mostly because the singer sounds kind of batshit. Like it isn't really all that heavy or all that crazy in certain other ways, but there's just something kind of bonkers about the presentation of this record. And the singer just sounds kind of nuts. Not quite as nuts as from that German Sacrifice where they spelled it wrong, but yeah, it's some good shit. Fortress from 1985. Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about there. Hang on a sec. And I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. I always hope people get a few laughs, This is fun for me, so I want it to be fun for everyone else too, This one? Camel Dream, right on. Is this the Fortress record? This one's pretty awesome too. Breaking the Skin is my favorite song title, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit ordinary, this record. I don't really think this is an all-time classic or anything like that. I mean, probably about half the enjoyment I get out of this thing comes from the cover. But it is a good record. Like, this is not one that I'm mind having at all. You know, it's a fun one to put on and enjoy. Same as with that First Strike, you know. That's part of what's cool about doing this, though, too, is I haven't played this in a while, you know. So it's like, oh, shit, I forgot about that one, you know. Maybe y'all will turn me on to something that I haven't listened to in a long time, you know. Just put a newer bag on this one so I can see it better. Breaking the Skin. Such a good song title. There are a couple on here too. I love the I love how they put the apostrophe at the end of the gerund every time, like consistently. It's not taking it back, it's taking it back and breaking the skin and that shit. Yeah, it's like Whitesnake, actually. They did that shit too. Hey, Mike Pope, welcome, dude. Let's see, Rocks from Tennessee. Are we talking about this one? Yeah. This one isn't in the greatest shape, but it does have all this fucking writing on it, which I kind of love, you know? You read that shit? Play it loud. Hey, brother Brian, how you doing, man? The Tsar is here. Yeah, did you know that Tsar is actually a contraction of Caesar? That's where that comes from. It's like a Slavicization. I do not have the Metal Merchant record. Sorry, man. I'm going to flip this witch cross real quick. I do grab everything I come across from Texas, though. To tell you the truth, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm going to take my L here, too. I've been posting all the other ones. So, here we go. The Metal Merchant record. So I got to take the L on this one because I don't have the Metal Merchant record. To tell you the truth, I think that one's overpriced. I mean, I believe that it's rare and shit, but it seems like someone's found a few copies and they're kind of sitting on them. So, we'll see what happens with that one. You got to work the market on some of on the shit sometimes, you know. $30 for a fucking Metal Merchant, dude. I love it when that kind of shit happens. When someone thinks they're pricing something high. You know where I got a lot of deals from? Do you know? Do you remember the Goldmine price guides? And specifically, there was one that Martin Popoff edited where he talked that was specifically for heavy metal. Yeah, that's the other thing. I kind of don't care that much about. Oh no! Hey, Marty, thanks for joining too. And a Germs kick, dude. I've never been the biggest Germs fan, but I kept my copy of the Forming single because that is just such a fucking weird piece of shit. I kind of love it, you know, and I respect the Germs, you know. So, and yeah, I agree on the reissue. It does seem like it's going to come. It's one of those, like that Palace one too. You know what I mean? It's like if there are half a dozen people willing to sell me one for $400, okay, that's great. They can all keep it, you know. Anyway, yeah, that Goldmine guide. It was right around then, like so I'm getting confused with all this shit here. I'm not the pro that Marty is. By the way, Marty, I'm pulling, like, if you want to see shit, it's like anything you want to see. I'm taking requests, so you can put me on the spot. I've taken one L so far, but I don't have everything anyway. Anyway, people would like get that price guide, right, and take it as gospel. But a lot of that shit, like Popoff had no idea it was actually happening with those private press records. So people would be like, they'd think they were pricing shit for top dollar, and it'd be like a fucking steal. You know what I mean? Like the first copy of the Ironhawk record I got from a guy who had like $40 on it. He thought he was charging top dollar. It was worth like 10 times that. That's actually the copy I traded for a Zen Venom, but I got another copy later on. So Yeah, Popoff's ratings are kind of a joke anyway. But you know something though, I appreciate the fact that I don't know. I just like his writing style. Honestly, I think that's what it is. I think Popoff's just a fun guy to read. So even when he pisses me off, it's like, do I have any Hobbs Angel of Death? My favorite Sun Ra album that you can find right now. There is a reissue of Universe in Blue kicking around. It is on. I don't remember if it was Strut or who else is it who's been doing their reissues? I'm pretty sure it might be Modern Harmonic actually, but they have it at my local record shop in Charleston, so you ought to be able to find it too, man. It's called Universe in Blue, and that's one of my very favorite Sun Ra records. I want to say it's one of my top 10. If you were to go back and watch all my videos and pulled out all my top 10 Sun Ra records, there's probably a lot more than 10, but I don't have any Liquid Earth, man. Sorry. Here, I'll take that L too. I don't have an original Paradox, and I don't have a original Warswolf either. Okay. So, yeah, all right. Hobbs Angel of Death. My copy of that's actually a little bit water damaged. It's a little bit of a bummer. But it's still a pretty cool piece, man. It's just steam hammer press. You can see there's little waving and shit on there. Dude, that's the thing, man, about the eBay prices when it came out. Maybe if he like looked at it once, but like some of the shit just seems so random, you know? Like he had dude, it was just fucking random. He had like $15 on the Leather Nun. I have literally never seen a copy of the Leather Nun record sell for $15. And I've been looking. This is a great record, by the way. I don't want to gloss over. I might even leave this out. This is like, it's funny. It looks kind of corny and shit, like the art style. It looks like it's going to be, and like that Australia thing, it looks like it's going to be gimmicky and some kind of like corny shit. But dude, this fucking record smokes. And it is probably closer to the sound of like Slayer, like Prime Era Slayer, than almost anything else. There's like one other band that's escaping me at the moment who I think kind of has an early Slayer vibe. And Hobbs Angel of Death kind of has it too. So, yeah, I've enjoyed all of Popoff's guides. I mean, I only have the 70s and 80s ones, but yeah, and from about 20 years ago. But yeah, with the 70s one, actually, there are even more that he sort of put me onto. You know, I got a Southern rock book too, and I'm not the biggest fan of Southern rock, but I enjoyed that shit too. You know, like I said, it's a lot of it's the writing style. So, which reissue are we talking about here? Some cooking. You know, here's the thing with the cooking videos. It was easier when I had my kids to help me film, because my younger kid, Coltrane, he doesn't really like being involved in that shit. He's become a lot more outgoing as he's gotten older. He was really shy when he was younger. He's become more outgoing, and I'm kind of hoping that he'll come around and be more sort of willing to be on camera. He's going to graduate high school soon now too. But when Spencer was filming, it was really easy. Now I sort of have to like try and set the camera up, and I suck at this, and I don't want to have to edit. So, dude, you know what Popoff put me onto? I'm glad you brought this up about Southern rock. I gotta remember where I had this fucking record. Dude, Popoff put me onto the early Charlie Daniels records, and I love this one. I really like the first couple Charlie Daniels records anyway. The first one's a lot of fun. The third one's good. After that, I don't have much use for him. Like the records where he was still Charlie Daniels as opposed to Charlie Daniels Band. So if it says Charlie Daniels Band, I don't really care. But this record is awesome, dude. First of all, look at him. Fucking holy shit. Dude. Ah, well, I fucking blew that shit. But look how fucking fat he is in there, too, man. Hats off. But, dude, this fucking guy, right? But this record, like, I put the song Evil. I'll put that on for people, and they'll be like, "Who the hell is?" It? And I'll be like, "Charlie Daniels." And they'll say, "No fucking way," you know. And one thing that Pop Off really kind of nailed was, I think it was Black Autumn. There was one song on here that he said sounded like an Alice Cooper ballad, and it really does. Awesome. So yeah, man. I'm not the biggest fan of Southern rock, but I'll rep Charlie Daniels a little bit here because he made a couple really good records. Yeah, there you go, man. Actually, I don't know anything about private Southern rock releases. I mean, no, I really don't. I can think of a couple hard rock records from the South, like that Dry Water record, but I think it'd be a stretch to call that Southern rock. So I have to say, there's one last thought with regard to Pop Off on the '70s stuff. Is he didn't know the German stuff all that well? I didn't think. A little snobbish about that shit. Did you run into Alice Cooper at the Halloween shop? You know, I went to his restaurant. I think it's gone now, but when I was in the one time I had to go to Phoenix for something, it was a shitty trip because we were like visiting a sick relative of my wife's or something. So it was just kind of a bummer. But the one thing I wanted to do was check out his restaurant. It was so fucking bad, dude. It was such a disappointment. I mean, of course the food sucked, right? But didn't have anything to do. I expected to see like some guillotines or something, you know? No, nothing like that. Just horse shit. You know, the kudzu band rings a faint bell. I don't know. Renegade Total to Armageddon. I have a reissue. I think I think I know what you're talking about. I didn't know they were Australian. To tell you the truth, that's the only reason I'm hesitating. Yeah, we're talking about this one, right? Yeah, this is a cool record, but I just have this reissue of it. So it was a 500 run, but man, 500 is kind of a lot. So still, this is a cool record. You know something though, this is another one where I kind of I kind of don't like their bonus tracks on it. You know, my biggest beef with this record is that I feel like it's a little bit too long, and there are 4 fucking bonus tracks on side 2. So it's like, you know, if you just like let the original runtime go, it'd probably be perfect. So yeah, it's a cool record. So I can't like completely deliver with that one. So you're the moving stage back. You're moving to LA? Be really curious what the shows like. Alice's blackout period. Trying to keep up with the comments here. I'm not used to this. Alice's, you know something? I gave that shit another chance not too long ago because Eric Bauer was talking about those records and specifically Flush the Fashion. So I got that one. And I don't know, man. You know something? I can sit back and enjoy just about anything these days, I'm finding. There's an exception. Oh, yeah, that fucking Alan Parsons record. That thing was a fucking piece of shit, dude. iRobot. I got a copy of iRobot a couple weeks ago. I didn't think I talked about it in one of my videos. I talked about it on someone else's stream. I figured it would be sort of like closing the book on that like shitty metal kick that I was on, right? Because I was listening to like Bad Company and Foghat and all this crap. So I was like, you know, I've kind of been curious what this record sounds like for a while. I remember hearing Tales of Mystery and Imagination when I was a kid. And obviously I know Eye in the Sky, but I've never heard that record. Some people like it. So I was curious. I brought it home. I was like, what a fucking piece of shit, man. Fucking iRobot by Alan Parsons. Jesus Christ, man. So All right, so I don't know who Reggie Chicago is, but I want to rep this anyway because if it's a Streaming Exciter show, that's pretty cool. So there it is. Everyone has as much info as I do now, so go for it. Right on. Just want to say hey to Dennis here too, man. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so those that blackout period, Alice Cooper, I was kind of thinking about investigating a little bit too, just for the hell of it. But Flush the Fashion, just it just kind of sucked. I mean, I played it like twice, and it was like, no, I don't have the War Cry single. I don't think I even know them. No, I don't have a lot of 45s though. I mean, I have like I mean, I have a few hundred, but maybe it's half metal, if that. And it's not more than like 300. I don't think. I've never counted. It's never occurred to me. So. Oh, okay. I didn't know Reggie's. Reggie's the club in Chicago. There you go. See, where I got to with Flush the Fashion is I feel like I got to the point where I get the appeal. You know what I mean? I understand why someone would like this. In spite of the fact that it's bad, right? Because obviously it's bad, right? That's just sort of a given. Okay, so we're approaching this bad record. How are we going to evaluate it? Are there reasons to like it even though it's bad? Clearly, sometimes I find those reasons and sometimes I don't. With Flush the Fashion, I thought that I could see the appeal, but it just didn't really take. It didn't really. I wasn't feeling it in my heart. Is Dope Lemon the band, Brother Brian? Tsar? War Cry. How old is that War Cry? I feel like I've heard of it, but if it's a 7-inch picture disc, I have like 2 of those. I have a Diamond Head one for a song off Canterbury. That fucking sucks. I've actually tried to get rid of that thing, but like every time I purged, I've forgotten about that one. That's like the only fucking reason that record is still in my collection. And then I feel like I have one more, but I don't even know what it is. It's not War Cry. I know that. Fucking Dope Lemon. Yeah, I don't know. I know Lemon Demon actually, like because of my kid. I really don't like Lemon Demon. My kid listens to a lot of shit that's really good, but and I've kind of gotten a little bit of a crash course in like sort of like newer electronic music from him and that sort of thing too. Actually, I'm at a great stage with my kid and his taste in music because he's developed his own taste to the point where he likes his own shit and like we can discuss it and like I'll learn from him and he'll learn from me, but it's not like because I'm the dad I'm dominating, you know what I mean? Or because he's the kid, he's totally like I'm just like fucking a boomer and whatever, right? So it's like I really feel like I learned from him, and there's some shit that I like, Dark Throne. I don't have any Dark Throne anymore. I've had it once or twice, but I don't really listen to black metal anymore, man. Most of the shit I do is just fucking shitty tapes, So, yeah, that makes sense, man. Stoner music, and I just said something about the Dark Throne. I didn't actually show it, I don't think. So, there it is. Yeah, this fucking record is really good, man. All right, what else do you want to see? Any more records you want me to pull out? I do not know a speed metal band called Zodiac. No, I mean Steve Zodiac from Vardis, but no. So what kind of rap are people listening to at work? Is it like the pop rap? Because that shit is really... I'm kind of amazed by how rap actually has become so dominant as one of the main components in pop music. You know what I mean? Like if you compare pop music, people, if you want to chime in with, it's all like written by a couple guys or it's all mass-produced shit. I mean, all that shit's true, but that shit was true in the 80s too, and it was true in the 70s. You know, it just took different forms, you know what I mean? And now, because of the way capitalism works and shit, like, they've become increasingly efficient to the point where it is what it is today. But that doesn't mean fucking Bread or The Looking Glass or the fucking Tramps were good in the 70s, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But it's sort of like the language changing thing, you know. That's something I think is really interesting to watch too as I get older, you know. Like, and the thing that made me think of it is I think the meaning of the word nostalgia is changing, because I think younger people use the word nostalgia to talk about things that are old that evoke certain sorts of feelings, but aren't necessarily sort of memories, like in the way of nostalgia. I think there's more. I think that people who are 20 years younger than us using the word nostalgia feel less direct proximity to what they're talking about than older people who use the word nostalgia, if that makes sense. Anyway, that was a hell of a digression. You know, yeah, I don't know. I realize I know very little about rap. I mean, even after that sort of, kick that I went on and that sort of thing. But, a lot of stuff I like, One I've really come around on through my kid Coltrane actually is MF Doom. MF Doom is really fucking good, man. So, yeah, country rap, I used to work with a guy who read, God, what's that fucking website? Saving Country Music, I think it is. And there's a reviewer on there whose handle is Trigger, and he would always go off on these fucking things. And I guess sort of like the pop off thing, it's just fun to read the stuff when he's going off on Walker Hayes or someone like that, And I learned from that if some people are into country and you want to bait them a little bit, work bro country into conversation, like. Ask people how they ask them if they like. Say, oh, I like country, shit like Florida Georgia Line, and you can get some. Well, you might get punched. I won't take any responsibility for that. Holy shit! I felt a little bit guilty about going live because Bananas was live, but he streams so fucking awesome that. But you know something? You still won't see me stream on a Friday night. I've gone on Metallurgy. It's different. It's not my thing. I won't compete directly with Grown Man Record Night head to head. That's just not the Christian thing to do, I was going to say I've never actually listened to Roll the Bones by Rush, but I probably have heard it because when I worked in the record store, it was around the time that came out, and the boss was a big Rush fan. So realistically, I heard that record, but I have literally no memory of it except people complaining about the rap thing, which I actually had also forgotten about until you brought it up just now. But now I'm like, oh yeah, that rings a bell. I remember that coming up. So, oh yeah, man, I'm not trying to create drama between you and Grown Man Record Night. I mean, that's pretty much my Friday nights these days. Fucking Metallurgy, and then I bounce over to a Grown Man Record Night at the end. So, the originals as far as I'm concerned. And I have to pick another fucking record to actually listen to as opposed to one to just flex on. I think I'll play the Axemaster record, man. All my shit fell all over the place over here. I have all these records I pulled out for features I plan on making, but I've been too lazy to actually do them. So, yeah, man, that Witch Cross record is really fucking good. I'd be a liar if I talked any shit about it. There's that bad boy going on right now. Has this thing been reissued, actually? This is a really cool record, man. This Axemaster one. It's an old Azra one, so. Oh, shit, I got all these comments to catch up on. Oh, top 5 80 slashers. Hey, Taryn. I was just talking about Alan Parsons a couple minutes ago. I sort of recapped like the whole sort of thing on that, but I left out the Pink Floyd connection. Yeah, it's true. When it comes to streaming, I mean, fucking Grown Man Record Night was streaming before there was a name. Yeah, totally, man. We're all friends here. Seriously. It's like, they're the people that I like and the people I really like, and, the people who are just like, I don't know, family sounds kind of pretentious, but, it's funny, man, because I've known some of you guys for about 10 years now. I mean, if you, I started watching Grown Man Record Night about the time I started my channel. And if you maybe cut a year off that time where it was just sort of my parasocial relationship with Bananas until I actually like sort of became friends with them, that's 8 years. That's kind of fucking crazy, man. I do not have any Gwar, man. I have never liked Gwar. They're just too much of a fucking comedy band for me. I'm just not into that comedy shit. I mean, when those records were around and like available, Anthrax was too comedy for me. I was kind of down on them at that time. So I've come back around on Anthrax, but like Gwar is just too much. I actually don't have an opinion on Porcupine Tree. I've never listened to them. So, but I mean that in a completely neutral way because I really don't know anything. Like I recognize the name. That's about it. So yeah, Steve, thanks for coming. Nick, hey. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Dave, I don't know if I said welcome to you, but thanks for coming. It's too much for me to keep up with here. All right. Just getting caught up here. Oh, hey, there's Davis. Look at that. Maybe he'll want to talk about language changing. It's funny, that whole like little nostalgia bit that I was talking about a minute ago kind of came up on one of his streams a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember how it came up, but someone used the word nostalgia in a certain context. Because like, okay, so I've been really into this analog horror stuff lately. I don't know if any of you all like that on YouTube, but you should check it out. Because let's just take a moment to enjoy this mustache real quick, since Metal Scavengers here at the comment. I don't have an opinion on the new Judas Priest. I mean, honestly, that's where I'm just like kind of not a very good fan. But like, as much as I love a band, I'm really just not necessarily willing to follow them into their 70s, and sort of keep hoping that the next album is going to be as good as one they made when I was 20. It's just, I'm not down on them. If other people, I wish them the best, But that's just not really how I listen to records, or music. I'm kind of more interested in going broad and like finding all these little nobodies and shit. So, yeah. So with the analog horror thing, though, it's basically what the Zoomers did during COVID. I mean, obviously not all the Zoomers, but like the best thing you can do is check it out. They're like breakdowns on like the Wendigoon channel and shit like that. But probably the best ones, for my money, the best one is Local 58. Okay, and probably my second favorite, I actually put this here to talk about, is Gemini Home Entertainment. Look at this. I got the fucking plushie because I'm such a fan. It's an official Gardner plush. So, in discussions of analog horror, though, I've heard them talking about, again, Zoomers, like maybe 20-year-old kids and their breakdown videos about analog horror projects that other 20-year-olds and teenagers have made. They'll be talking about the nostalgia that's evoked in their minds by like these this sort of like VHS sort of crusty presentation and like sort of this old like public access vibe or aesthetic and that sort of thing. And they're using the word nostalgia, and I was like, how can you be nostalgic for something that was like you weren't on the earth for? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not nostalgic for World War II era shit, right? It was before I was born. So why would some kid who's 20 now be nostalgic for what shitty VHS tapes looked like in the 80s, right? And that's why I think the word nostalgia, I think the meaning is changing. And language changes and develops that way anyway. A more obvious example is the way the perfect tense has changed in English. Like people don't say I have run; they say I have ran. They use the imperfect in place of the perfect. So, and I may have my terms wrong. It's been a while since I studied the grammar, but so yeah, I don't know if we're making history, man. And I also don't know what the hell is going on here. But it's just interesting. It's like as I've gotten older, I feel like I've had a little bit of time to observe this sort of thing, And it's like, especially if you study languages, you learn that language changes. If you don't study languages, at some point in school, you're still asked to read Shakespeare and have to you can understand it, but you have to really work to understand it. And that's because the language has changed so much, God, fucking the King James Bible, man, talk about language changing, having fucking nefarious and also hilarious effects on people and shit like that. Hey, Scotty Stricknine, thanks for coming. And Louie, of course. No is the answer. There aren't really any artists I listen to in October more than the rest of the year. Halloween related. I always think about it. I always think, Halloween's coming around. I should probably bust out the Merciful Fate records. But it's sort of like, yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about, though. You remember records being dominant. If you're, recollecting now. I mean, yeah, there's an aspect to that. So here we go. Yeah, and see, this is kind of what I think is happening. The language changes, the meaning maybe changes to just evoke the past. Maybe cultural memory is more interesting than just a misuse of the word. Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening. It's like it's funny because people talk about bad grammar and that sort of thing, but it's like language. When language is used, it develops and it evolves. You know what I mean? And so you can learn grammar, and sure, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things, but that's not necessarily going to stay the same way forever. So it used to piss me off when I would hear people say, "Oh, I don't know." I can't think of one. I can think is I have run or I have ran. You know what I mean? But it's like that used to bother me until at some point I realized it's just changing. I still don't like the term hair metal. I've said this before, but even though I'm not really a big fan of that glam shit, I still don't like the way the term hair metal sort of diminishes the music that is there. You know what I mean? Because there is a I don't know. I guess I just think that glam metal is valid as an art form, even if it's not really my thing for the most part. There's some bands that I really like. One thing I've talked about a lot, like Leather Nun, okay, that record. And if you need a copy of that, let me know. But like that album Leather Nun, Take the Night, or the Mistress record, or early Motley Crue. It's glam writing, but it's played heavy. You know what I mean? It's like when you get glam writing and it's played glammy, I don't really care for it much. That's like Rat. You know what I mean? And I don't hate Rat, but whatever. These other things I do like, but even like Poison or something like that. I mean, Poison fucking sucks. I'm not repping that band here, or Bon Jovi or something like that. But I think it's still valid as an art form. You know what I mean? I can still sort of on some level respect what they were doing. Sure, it was corporate and yeah, whatever else. But at the end of the day, they were still real bands who worked hard to get where they were. And so I think hair metal is dismissive in a condescending way that is almost never justified by the speaker. Because the people who are the most dismissive of metal are the people who know the least about music. There we go. We're not talking shit about Rat around here. Although I do talk shit about Rat sometimes. But that's the thing. It's like, I feel like if I'm talking shit about Rat, it's because I'm engaging with Rat. You know what I mean? I don't really talk very much shit about Boston because I don't listen to Boston. I don't listen to Rat very often, but Rat it has a place in my consciousness, Hi, Mother Earth. I remember I listened to that record. It didn't make much of an impression. Yeah, I think the good bluesy rock thing is another thing that kind of caused a lot of shit to go by me. I think I I would have resented bands like Great White and Cinderella less back in the 80s if they had been treated more like the way, and Guns N' Roses for that matter, if they'd been treated more like the way the Black Crowes were, like sort of like a modern Stones. You know what I mean? I think if they had been treated like that instead of like metal, then bands like Cinderella and Great White wouldn't have been as offensive to people like me and Marty, probably. Although here's Marty repping Cinderella, so. Not a Great White fan though. Yeah, listen though, that first EP is really good, man. I just pulled it out a couple videos ago. Someone in the comments was talking about it, and I like bought that record just because I was curious and I thought it was a piece of crap. But I pulled it out a few weeks ago and I really liked it. So don't expect to see any of their albums here anytime soon, though. We're not going to be spending a lot of time on Great White. So yeah, see. A lot of people seem to like Cinderella, like people who I respect and who generally have good taste. So, you know, I kind of want to hear this story, man. Your dad and your uncle tried out for Cinderella, was like as a team, or like, was it a coincidence maybe? All right. I got to be reserve a little bit of skepticism here over this first White Lion rips here. So, yeah, that's awesome. A giant wolf banner for Cinderella. Fucking love it, dude. Yeah, that Black and Blue record is a lot. Actually, you know, the guy who put me onto Black and Blue is the guy who sold me this Axmaster record, too. He's my record dealer friend in Colombia. I've talked about in the past. Although I haven't seen him in a few years now. Thanks, John Bandy. Appreciate that. And yeah, you know, that's something I feel like I learned to embrace a little bit more with each year too, is how the mood impacts a record. You know, I try to sort of be conscious of that with certain things. You know, I'll put if I don't like something, sometimes I will put something aside until I'm in sort of a better mindset for it. You know, but that can backfire when I go a year between jazz kicks, which has happened. So, what prompted the stream tonight? I just felt like it really, but my wife and my remaining kid who lives at home are out of town right now touring schools in New England. So I've got nothing but time and sodas. I actually got to grab another one, and records too. I got some records around here too. So that's pretty awesome, man. Dad plays bass, uncle played drums, so separate. That's auditions for Cinderella, if you just joined us here. Now I'm going to get another drink, so I'll let y'all read what Abacus had to say, because it's interesting while I grab a drink. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think that's really enough for me with Cinderella. I feel like if Cinderella was playing it, had my windows shaking and the cops are knocking, it'd still sound like Cinderella and not good. But I'm glad they make you happy, man. No, In and Out, right? Fucking football. Jesus, man. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I do know who the Broncos are, but that's the only word in that sentence that I understand. I have a B&O turntable and a receiver that I got from some guy on Craigslist. That's my equipment, and I don't remember where I got my tape deck, but I had to dub a bunch of tapes at one point, so I kind of got a few all at once. So probably one thrift store or another. The CD player belongs to my kids, so that doesn't even count. But yeah, Before this receiver, the one that I was using was the one I got when I was a senior in high school. It finally died about 10 years ago. No, not quite. No, it was about 10 years ago now. So I got this one off Craigslist, and the guy actually had records, and he sold me some for $1 each. And he was impressed because he had a bunch of Beatles shit, and I passed on all that, but I took his Upsetters Return of the Super Ape. And that's where I got my original island pressing of Super Ape. Did I say Return of the Super Ape? I meant Super Ape by the Upsetters, the one on Island. The Return of the Super Ape. So, did I get my dust cap? What I did was get rid of those speakers, actually, because they were kind of fucked anyway. Spencer actually found those. So I was giving those a shot for a few weeks. And, yeah, they were just making some noise. You probably could have fixed some, but I don't know anything about that shit. So I went back to these old speakers that actually my wife inherited from her dad, who died before we met, and we just had our 25th wedding anniversary. So that gives you an idea of how old those speakers are. Yeah, thrift store tape decks are pretty much, I don't know if it's quite Russian roulette. It's more like, fuck, I wish I still had that $10. But, yeah. Although with tapes coming back, who knows, man? Yeah, I think that as far as Gen Z and baseball, I don't have an opinion on that specifically. But I do think that, or I suspect, I should say, because I don't think this is really provable, but I think that to a certain degree, the vinyl resurgence, as it were, is a reaction to it's a reaction to the whole sort of cultural phenomenon of things moving to a subscription model. You know what I mean? Instead of buying a software package, you have to buy a fucking subscription for your fucking Windows or your whatever editing software you're using, or fucking Photoshop. And they realize that's a scam. It's not like Zoomers don't realize it's a grift. They don't realize, it's not like they don't realize they're being cheated, because they fucking are, And I think given the choice between a Spotify account, which is that subscription model, or buying records, I don't think they're seen as mutually exclusive, for one thing. But I wonder if that's if it's a reaction against it. So how their kids turn out, I'll be dead by then most likely. So I'm not too worried about that, because I really don't worry about that kind of shit. On the one hand, yeah, Metal Neanderthal, those new tapes, they sound like shit compared with that quality tape they were using in the 80s, right? Nothing but the finest in a mass-produced audio tapes as they were manufactured in the 80s, right? Yeah, that is another great one. It's funny because that's kind of War in Babylon, I think, is one that kind of suffers a little bit from Western producer syndrome, which is funny, obviously, because Jamaica is actually west of England, but you know what I mean? But like there's that ballad in there about Uptown Babies Don't Cry and shit, and that just seems so, it's like those Bob Marley ballads that don't sound like reggae at all, or like little love songs, like that direct that loads up, or that Legend is loaded with, But like when you get past that shit, like the deeper cuts in a Max Strobe, which aren't even really that deep, like the fucking title track, War in Babylon, that's like some real fucking first-rate reggae, man. Holy shit, is that good. And that's one that went by me when I got into reggae originally. I don't know. I'd have an original of that one if I hadn't snoozed on it when I was working in the record store, because that used to come through occasionally. Let's see. Maybe nostalgia is tinting the memory of 80s tapes. Maybe. I think a little bit. I think tapes are kind of cool. And like when they've been a pain in the ass enough times, you forget that they were cool. But something? Coltrane was playing one of his CDs a few days ago, and it started skipping. And I didn't say anything because I don't want to be a fucking killjoy. But I was like, yeah, it's like they're cool. You remember them being cool until you're reminded of the shit that annoyed you about them. You know what I mean? And that's just life, I think. So, what are you going to do? Yeah, there were some tapes that was good. I was just fucking around. Hey, Just Al, always glad to see you, man. I enjoyed a baseball game for the first time when my kid was in Cub Scouts. For like one of my younger kid was in Cub Scouts, so probably 8 years ago now. But it was like a school like thing. They had to like go to a sporting game, and I was like, oh fuck. But we went to a River Dogs game here in Charleston. I got sort of into the psychology of it in a way that I'd never really clued into when I was younger. But it'd be a pretty big stretch to say that I follow sports at all. So if anyone just showed up, if you want to see any specific records, I'm sitting in my living room, so it's pretty much all at hand. So go ahead and call shit out if you want to see something. The metal shit's the most convenient, but the jazz as well. It's kind of in two places. But dude, fucking someone was asking about cooking videos earlier too. Mike Pope, in fact, and I take his questions seriously. So there's this Swedish thing, because the Swedes eat all sorts of weird shit, man. You don't realize, you're like, oh, it's Sweden, you know, whatever. But and it's like everyone's heard of lutefisk, right? In case you don't know, it's like some fish that's like cured with lye somehow. I have a copy of John Barleycorn, but it's staying on the shelf. It's actually for sale. It's on Discogs right now. And my wife said, yeah, you know, maybe I should. You know what's funny though? I kind of get self-conscious when she's around. Sometimes she's asleep on the couch, and when she walks through the room, or when my kids come through, or with my either of my kids, I don't really care. But with my wife, I feel a little self-conscious. So the fish that smells rotten, you're probably thinking of surströmming, I think it's called. It's like in cans. The cans like swell from the fermentation that happens in there. So there's another thing called tunnbrödsrulle, which I guess is like street food in there. It's like a flatbread, but it's like a hot dog, okay? But it's like a Swedish hot dog. They serve it on a flatbread with mashed potatoes and shrimp salad, like with mayonnaise shrimp salad. And so I really want to try that, but it's a pain in the ass to make. I don't just have shrimp salad on hand. I don't have fucking mashed potatoes on hand. And if I'm going to make mashed potatoes just for that and like buy all those fucking ingredients, I'm spending $20 on a fucking hot dog, you know? So I don't know. I really do like making the cooking videos. But yeah, a brisket stream would be a long fucking stream. Usually when I make brisket, what I do is I put it on the smoker like around 11 or 12, and then I finish up whatever I'm doing, which is usually watching Grown Man Record Night. And then I go to bed, and when I get up, I go out and I check on it. You know, it's not quite that simple. Like you sort of have to hang out and like check it a lot for the first hour or two. I make sure the temperature stabilizes where you want it and that before you can go to bed. But yeah, that's what usually happens. So I'm not even awake to stream that. I could set up like a fucking brisket cam outside maybe and hope it doesn't rain. Yeah, I don't know, man. Packaging of physical media is fantastic, but the actual quality of the disc, it seems to have taken a bit of that. You know what bothers me more than probably anything else having to do with that is fucking when the jackets aren't big enough for the record to fit into. Because I still like the whole experience of taking the record out and putting it on and shit like that, you know? And when the thing doesn't fit in right, when it becomes an imposition to put the fucking record away and it like doesn't sit in the thing right and it looks like shit when you're holding it, that's annoying, man. I don't like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I figure it sucks when you get a record that's pressed on cheap vinyl and it sounds bad. But, you know, there are a lot of things in life that suck, you know. I'm not going to spend my life chasing down the perfect, you know, pressing of something, you know. I just had my first lobster roll actually about a year ago when I was in the D.C. area for something. So I'd sort of heard about him as an institution, but it's been so long since I lived anywhere near Maine. I mean, D.C. is as close as I've been to Maine in a while, so there you go. There's nothing to the record? Oh, there's one more song. I've been paying that much attention, you see? All right. So, I like some fusion. I tend to prefer. Well, I don't know. You know something? I've kind of shifted a bit. When I got into jazz, I really only liked it with acoustic instruments, and I was really kind of fussy. Like I didn't like vibes. I didn't like guitar. And like everything that I didn't particularly care for, I eventually came around on. And kind of the last thing that I came around on was just that fusion sound. You know what I mean? I've come to appreciate, I think, like straight like jazz fusion, like where it's kind of rocky, I don't care about so much. But the funky end of things I've come to appreciate a lot more, you know? So yeah, and as far as how yeah. I'll bet Mr. Bouchard knows a thing or two about jam. So over there is where I usually film. That's all shit. That's all jazz. And then that's mostly metal, but the top, I actually expanded that whole top row as jazz too. And yeah, I can't really show you the rock from where I am. So that's how much it is. Oh, you can't see the Coltrane and Miles Davis and Sun Ra records. I have one cube that's Miles and Coltrane and one cube that's just Sun Ra. So, because like I have like 100 Sun Ra records now, or pretty close to it. So they just dominate the S's if I had it mixed in. It's just annoying. So they're out separate. And actually, Miles and Coltrane were still in the regular section, but I needed room over there, and I didn't have shelving to shift. So that was how I improvised, and now that's just how it is. So whatever. All right. Anything else you want to see? It isn't like a threat. Oh shit, man! Some people have bounced. I wonder who went live. Maybe Rachel's live now. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Rachel's stream is fun anyway. I'm not talking shit. You know, sometimes people talk too much on there though. So not too much mayo in a lobster roll. I can believe that. I can see where I might mess it up. I mean, the whole idea of like cutting up lobster, just having not grown up in Maine, is a little bit counterintuitive to me anyway. But having had a lobster roll, I also like fucking really appreciate it. You know, actually, I've had some really good lobster bisque. So anyway, yeah, there are lots of good things you can do with lobster. Oh yeah, so the Tumbrudsrula video, I still hope to make one of these days, but that'd kind of be a pain in the ass and take some preparation. So I kind of at least want to have someone on board who like wants to eat one with me. You know what I mean? Even if they don't help me make the video. So see what happens with that shit. So what else do we have to talk about? Yeah, I'm unloading a few records. If anyone's interested, I showed a few earlier that I kind of have quantity of, but my account on Discogs is Beer and Jesus. And I mean, some of the shit's expensive. I mean, I'll just fucking own that because this is to finance something specific. But I'm probably just going to leave that shit up until I make enough money, and then I might take it down because it's a pain in the ass. But I might leave it up too. I don't know. But some of the shit I'm more interested in selling than others. So anyway, letting y'all know, so if you want a chance to get a record that was owned by the one and only metal theologian. It's hard to imagine that I'm going to go start searching out Bill Bruford records, honestly. I've held a lot in my hands over the years, and I never really saw one that looked exciting to me. But, you know, I'm not really interested in the whole, like, the whole, like, production of it thing. You know what I mean? I sort of like... I don't know, man, the sincerity, the authenticity, you know what I mean? And it's not that you can't do that like it's sort of a studio production, you know? I mean, I hate Steely Dan, right? But I can believe that Steely Dan, or Alan Parsons for that matter, that they were like putting themselves into these records that they were making, you know? But it's like musician records, you know what I mean? When a musician tells you a record is really good, it's probably going to suck. And I feel like those are musician records, you know? I mean, the big irony of what I'm saying here is that musicians make the records that I fucking listen to here, right? But I'm actually kind of amazed by the phenomenon. I kind of just put my finger on it relatively recently, but when I think back on the musicians I've known, almost all of them had really shitty record collections. And not just because they were spending their money on guitars or whatever either, just because they had really shitty taste in records. This would probably be my story if I had that Bill Bruford record too. Although I do own a copy of The Best of Bread. I found it the other day when I was looking for some shit in my attic. That's like where some of the real reject records are. That's interesting, actually. I wasn't sure if you'd see eye to eye with me on that one here about the musician thing with the Steely Dan thing, but I feel like, I mean, my sort of working theory is that, like, if you're a musician and like you're interested in the technique and that, and you're listening for that, maybe you just don't hear the music the same way I do. You know what I mean? But I mean, I like a lot of records where the musicianship is pretty shitty, you know, and I also like a lot of records with some great musicianship. I mean, jazz is hard to play, you know, you have to be fucking really good to play shitty jazz. You know, I've talked a lot of shit about Booker Little, for instance, you know. God damn if I could ever do what that guy does, you know, or did before he died. And I've actually kind of come around on his style a little bit too. I didn't like Booker Little at all when I first got into jazz. And like, even like his records with Eric Dolphy, I listened to him and be like, Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck? But, I don't know. I that sort of weird, like, angular way he has of playing or something, or that's sort of how it came off to me. You know, I don't know. I think I get it now. I wouldn't say I'm a big Booker Little fan, but I appreciate him more than I used to. So there we go. Dude, I don't know why anyone would bother with that new fucking Dark Side record. If there's one thing I do not need in my life, at least musically, it's a fucking new interpretation of Dark Side of the Moon by fucking Roger Waters. I mean, why? Here's my one-liner about that. I actually think it's good that Roger Waters is doing Dark Side now, because it means he's finally done redoing The Wall over and over again. This is kind of what I was trying to articulate before, I think, as far as like how musicians listen to it. I feel like I don't really feel like I can say they're not listening to the music, because obviously they're listening to the music, because what the hell else are they listening to? But I don't feel like they're listening to music as much as they're listening to the technique, you know what I mean? Or the ideas or whatever they get from that. Yeah, that's right, man. Get those fucking likes up. Thanks, Mike. Listen, it's really good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Mike Pope, guys. He leaves short little comments and shit, and he might on your videos too, but this fucking guy, he's one of the metal theologian OGs. I swear he's been watching me for as long as I've had a channel. And I crossed the 9-year mark a couple months ago. So this guy, respect, man. It's him, people like him that make this worth my while to do. So thank you, Mike Pope. You're seriously one of my favorite people to hear from. I've never checked that soundtrack out. You want to know something about 60? Well, about half of it was because there didn't really seem to be anything interesting on the record that I didn't already have. And the other half is just because it's a fucking soundtrack. And I just don't need a fucking soundtrack from 1990 or whatever it is. So, yeah. As much as I love Blue Oyster Cult, I didn't love them that much. Yeah, you know, I don't want to be a dick to anyone but you know, I don't see why I should sit here and pretend a fucking record is good when it's fucking not, you know? I mean, I might hype bad records, because there are a lot of bad records that I've hyped on my channel, but I'll always tell you that they're fucking bad. Like that Gandhi record, that's a bad record. I also happen to fucking love it. Yeah, VK here, I want you all to know, is probably the only guy still standing who's been at it longer than me. Yeah, 11 years. Well, Grown Man Record Night, but Grown Man Record Night's kind of in a different category. But just like the straight vinyl community shit, yeah, VK is the shit, man. It's been around forever. This dude had already made legendary videos before I started, like that one where he tore the fucking Pearl Jam record up. So, thanks for being here, man. So, yeah. Yeah, making fun of musicians is fun, man. If you're putting yourself out there like that, I feel like I'm allowed to enjoy it however I want to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I mean, obviously, I genuinely love this shit. I mean, how many fucking hours have I spent on YouTube talking about fucking shitty records? You know what I mean? If I didn't love these things. But really, that's kind of the point. You know what I mean? Is that sometimes the shitty records are the best ones, man. A lot of times, I mean, you know, Yngwie Malmsteen is a fantastic musician. I don't give a fuck about anything that guy ever put his fucking fingers on. You know? God, dude, a friend of mine here locally has been keeping an eye out for a Malmsteen record, and I was at a shop last week, and I saw one, and I was pretty sure it was one of the ones he was after, but I wasn't positive. But like, I would have had to text him to find out, and it was more than like $5. So even just like grabbing it for a friend, I couldn't bring myself to do it, man. Just the idea of like holding an Yngwie Malmsteen record for more than a few seconds, just like made my fucking skin crawl, man. I don't know, man. Yeah, I create my own trends, man. I am the fucking trend over here, man. Hell yeah. Dude, I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for saying hey. I appreciate your channel too, man. It's good stuff. And thanks as far as the family too, man. Appreciate it. I actually do send these greetings along to my family too. It's fun to do. So, Grown Man Record Night is fucking fantastic, dude. Grown Man Record Night. See, Grown Man Record Night is just like a fucking talk show. You know, there's the whole music thing and that sort of thing, right? I first latched onto it because of Chip Chat, and I don't really eat chips. Because of all the fucking caloric things that I really like, potato chips are like one of the things that is easiest for me to go without. So I just, you know, I'd rather have dessert. So I just sort of let it go, you know, whatever. But the idea of doing a segment on that was just so fucking hilarious to me with that graphic, with the Chicago font and shit, that I just sort of drew me in. And even though, I mean, they talked about a lot of shitty records, especially early on, but it was still fun, man, because the enthusiasm is real, you know? And that's the other thing, you know, it's like, so much of it is what you bring to it, you know? That's why I can enjoy Popoff's reviews, even when, you know, I want to throw the book against the wall because he's so fucking wrong about a record, you know? Oh, I don't know which Steeler, the one with Malmsteen on it, though, right? The one that'd be relevant. Yeah, it's okay, dude. It's like a 5 out of 10 record. You know, it's about as good as that first Keel record on Shrapnel, dude. It's records like that, which is why I think Shrapnel's kind of a crap label. There were a couple good records on Shrapnel, but it's like if you're collecting early metal and you're collecting by label, as I have, and to a certain degree still do, except I have most of the label shit that I was after, at least on the metal front. But you won't go wrong collecting Metal Blade. You won't go really wrong collecting Combat. But fucking Shrapnel, you're going to have some fucking clunkers on your hands, dude. Because Shrapnel put out some fucking bullshit. Because that guy, fucking Mike Varney, who ran the label, was apparently a guitar player. I don't know that, but he was into the whole shredder thing. So he brought in these fucking musicians making musician records, and they were all fucking terrible. It's like, what do you expect, you know? It's fucking horse shit, you know? Yeah, there we go. Blasphemer. It's all about the blasphemy over here on the Metal Theologian channel. Actually, it's kind of not, you know. I try to be sensitive to the fact that a lot of people who watch my channel are religious. I mean, obviously, I don't really watch my language, you know. But I figure if you can't get past, you know, the F word, then you're not really serious anyway. I mean, really. If you're into music, but like you can't deal with the fact that I'm saying this is fucking great instead of just saying this is great or this is really great, then you're not really serious, you know? And like, there are other channels you can watch. It's okay. Megaforce, another one. Some good shit. And what's cool about labels like Metal Blade and Megaforce and Combat is they license some cool shit too. So if you just search their shit out, you'll still get a good like foothold in, like what was coming out of Germany and places like that. Say, Music for Nations was pretty spotty. There were some kind of crappy records, and they kind of had some really bad compilations. That's what I'm kind of more inclined to. Let's put it this way: I won't buy a record just because it's on Music for Nations. If something's on Metal Blade, I'll be curious automatically. If it's before like 1988, 89, 90, somewhere in there, right? If it's an early Metal Blade, I'll be interested just because it's on Metal Blade at the very least. And there's a good chance I'll check it out. If something's on Music for Nations, the default is I'm going to pass. Unless I'm kind of desperate for something. Which happens. You know what record? This is another Malmsteen one. That first Alcatraz record I really like a lot. No Parole from Rock and Roll. Yeah, forget it, dude. No boundaries. I can't do top 5 or top 3 albums. I mean, that's like, if I picked 5, I mean, it'd be picking like 1 in 1,000 of the records I have here. But one record you definitely need to check out is Deep Purple and Rock if you don't know it. That's like kind of a cornerstone of my musical taste. So, let's hear about Malmsteen live. They opened for AC/DC. Yeah. I saw Dokken open for AC/DC in like 88. And I didn't really have any recollection. I didn't like Dokken at all. And it was just poser shit to me. I do kind of like Dokken now, actually. But no songs with F-bombs, huh? Yeah. In the fucking bar. You know something, though? I don't really have a lot of respect for swearing in lyrics, like when it's actually written into the lyrics. It's not a deal breaker with a record for me. You know what I mean? But I don't go like, yeah, he's fucking telling the truth. It's more like, something. If you're doing something that's like, I don't know, man. It's not really consistent, I guess. I don't know. It's sort of like I don't expect it in like, an academic paper or something either, But then I'm thinking of Zizek, and he swears in his shit. So, what the hell do I know? Yeah, Mausoleum was kind of mediocre, and Mausoleum was spotty. But the bad records on Mausoleum, for the most part, are still at least a little bit fun, or at least have a funny cover, or have something. The bad Shrapnel records just have nothing redeeming about them, dude. Oh, I missed this one. Yeah, Don Dokken is a chode. Yeah, he definitely is. When I saw them, they were touring on Blow Up Your Video. But I was also in Germany at the time, so it might have been a different opening act there than it was in the U.S. tour. So I found that with other shit, like, God, I don't remember. There's a really good example of it, but, yeah, let's see. I gotta pick another record now. That's it for Axemaster. Think of some more shit you want to see. Or think of some questions about religion or something. I don't know. We can talk about whatever. I'll digress. It'll probably kill my views, too. But then if I wanted views, I'd show more Dokken records and fewer Axemaster records. Oh, shit. I'll be right back, I promise. Okay, this is a good shitty record. Yeah, we're checking out Fact. I do watch Chef John at Food Wishes. I've actually learned a lot from that motherfucker, too. Like, I'm way more comfortable in the kitchen now than I was before I started watching Chef John. So this is really kind of a shitty record, all right? This is the Fact record. Actually, this is the second Fact record. They made 2 records, and I just have this one. And it's on Earthshaker, which is maybe even a step down from Mausoleum. But dude, this record has a really cool kind of accept vibe. And I don't know, man. I just really like it. It's kind of a shit can record, you know. It's poverty metal, you know. Another pop off term there, right? But it's a fun one, dude. What's this riff? You know, that's unapologetically metal. Are you the screamy vocals? You know, they're German. It kind of makes sense that they would owe a fair bit to Accept, but as Accept knockoffs go, Fact is really good. Dude, is that a joke? What is the new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album? Like, which one? I don't even know what that means. That's like, hey, have you read the book by Stephen King? I appreciate that, man. Because I like Show the Axemaster records. I don't mind showing the Dokken records. But it wouldn't be fun just showing the Dokken records. I really like King Gizzard, by the way. I have like 3 King Gizzard records, I think, and I really like them, you know. My kid might have 1 or 2 more too, actually. He has a couple. We have a couple of the same ones, ironically, but what can I say? Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to collect them all. I already have Sun Ra. I'm not going to I don't need that. Especially because the Sun Ra shit's a little bit more of sort of an archaeology mission, you know. You know, if I were going to, I don't really talk about grails very much because I think it's a little bit silly to call like any record that you're hunting for a grail. Because there's only one holy grail. Honestly, there's only one holy grail. And when it comes to metal, the holy grail is pretty much the Militia record, and I have it. So I don't really feel right talking about grails or other shit. But among Sun Ra records, if there were one that I were going to call that, it would be When Angels Dream of Love, which is the only 60s record I haven't been able to track down a copy of, like in any kind of reissue or anything. And you can't touch one, a used one for an original, I mean, for less than like $300 or $400. And like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to start collecting records that cost that much, you know, like right now. You know, it just seems insane, you know. It's like collecting original Blue Notes or something like that, you know. It's like if you're starting and every record is that much. I mean, I kind of feel for people trying to start metal right now, but like metal records, maybe on average, you're going to look at between 50 and 70 for a good metal record, you know. It's like that's still not $400, like with original Blue Notes. So. Don Dokken is all over YouTube stroking his ego. That's a little bit hard to believe. You'd think he sort of would have figured out that nobody else gives a shit after all this time, you know? But I believe it. But you know how I see that? Like, see, that's the sort of thing that used to really piss me off. Now it's like, I mean, the best example of this is Dave Mustaine, right? It's like Dave Mustaine gets into Jesus. Does he become like, you know, a universalist, like a Pete Enns or David Bentley Hart type of Christian? No, he becomes the worst kind of fucking evangelical, the kind who doesn't really talk about Jesus, but just cares about the queers and shit like that, right? And that's like his whole fucking thing. That's like, on the one hand, that's fucking heinous. On the other hand, Mustaine was always an asshole. And like, if he turns into the kind of, if he embraces asshole Christianity or an asshole version of Christianity, in a way, it tells me that all is right in the world, you know? So, you know, so Don Dokken stroking his ego all over YouTube isn't necessarily something I want to encourage, but it's something that I wouldn't necessarily stamp out either. You know, of all the things wrong in the world, that one doesn't seem very high on the list to me. Early rave was on Megaforce in the US. It was on Neat in the UK. And you know something, I do, but I don't like them as much as a lot of people do. I mean, talk about a hard-working band, Raven. Dude, I saw them live once, and this was like 12 or 15 years ago or something like that. But probably around 2010-ish, something like that. So yeah, 12 or 15, I guess. But dude, they were fucking really good, and they're old by that point. You know, I mean, I was already 40 by then almost. So if not already, I don't know. Anyway, and they were older than me is the point. They were fucking really good, but I don't know. I've just never fallen in love with them the way some other people have. Some of the other metal guys, like Scott Waters, is just like a huge Raven fan. There are a couple other people in the community too who are really big on Raven, and I am not talking any shit about Raven, but okay, you know, so I'm gonna pull a couple metal records out. Best 3 metal records. This is not my best 3, but this is just 3 obscure ones that come to mind, okay? And actually, a couple of these from my 1984 video. I gotta find these fuckers. Hang on. You know what's funny? I just showed these earlier. Oh shit, man! I'm getting behind on the comments here. Yeah, this is why I don't feel too bad about making fun of them. Actually, so the best artists being the biggest assholes. Okay, I'm gonna put this on next. Okay, this is one of the very best records ever. It's just 2 songs, and I have copies of this for sale, not of the original. There's a reissue finally a couple of years ago that I have stock on. I talked about it earlier, but let me know if you're interested because we can work something out probably. Yeah, this is one of my favorites though, from 1984, and this is another one. I called this my #1 record of '84, which is an important year, and I stand by it. This is the Black Death record, man. This is one of the greatest heavy metal records I've ever heard. And I'll tell you, when you see shit about this, people always talk about, you know, how they're, you know, it was the only band where they were all black and shit. And that's true, especially this heavy. I mean, there were a couple other bands here there, but they were the only ones in Cleveland at the time. And, you know, anyway, but I hate to even bring that up because it's almost like treating them like a novelty act. And this is not a novelty record. This is a fucking fantastic heavy metal record. One of the best out of, I mean, here, this is my fucking metal section over here, guys. Okay, the top row is jazz, but all that is metal. Out of all of those records, that Black Death is probably in my top 3. Yeah, Joe Hasselvander's made the rounds, man. You have the Lady Killer record of his? That's a really cool one. It's a banger that people don't talk about very much. Hang on, I'll pull it out. If I can find it. You know, it occurred to me to like think. My first thought was I was going to set the thing up so you could like the records were behind me. But then every time I went looking for one like this, you'd be looking at my ass. So I'm kind of glad I didn't do that. Yeah, this one, man. This record's a banger. I think this is semi-fake, like it's all him. It isn't really a band and shit like that. But yeah, this is a really fun record, man. It looks kind of corny. I mean, it looks cheap as hell. Pentagram Records, I think it was all like just like them and their friends basically. But those records are all good. This one, the Devil Child record, is kind of a fake band too. I like that one even more than this one. All right, gotta catch up with the chat now. Yeah, All For One is a pretty sick album. I mean, yeah, it really is. You know, every time I put that record on, I enjoy it, you know. But it's just not one that I'm as in love with some people. Saxon is another one. You know, I like Saxon. I really do, but I just don't. Or Tank. These are all bands I like a lot, but I just don't reach for them as often as some people seem to. So, yeah, to kill them all for one tour, yeah. On the European leg with Venom. Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that. That's kind of what my whole channel is dedicated to. Standing up for the underdog over here. So, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for stopping by. And Mike, you're the greatest, dude. Mutual Admiration Society here. 83 and 84. Dude, there's some really good shit from 86. I'm not sure what this was about, but that's kind of funny. God damn. Well, I wasn't on showing the records. Okay, so I always thought sound barrier was kind of crap. I kind of felt like I don't know. I mean, a big part of it was that the first one I ever got was I found a copy of the EP Born to Rock, I think it's called, in the wild when I was living in LA. I guess I could show that, but that one doesn't feel that rare. So it just didn't really grab me. And the Born to Be Wild cover was definitely part of it. Alan actually hyped that. I sort of pulled it out and gave it another chance again. And the last time I played it, I was like, you know, this is pretty good, man. I can handle it. You know, so yeah, this one else. I'll show the Sound Barrier record. I actually have one of the LPs too, but that one's really kind of lame. I was going to make a joke about having to put all this shit away after the video, but the fact is, I always have a lot of records sitting around that I have to put away. So, because I work from home now, so I usually listen to music most of the day, you know. Yeah, so this LP I thought was kind of lame. Maybe I'll come around someday. This is the EP, and I do think that the Born to Be Wild cover in the middle of the side there like that is unfortunate. But this is a pretty good record. It's a good hard rocker. No comparison to Black Death, though. Oh, and I have copies of the Black Death, too, I think. Reissues. That original staying here, as is that Graven Image original, which you probably haven't seen on anyone else's channel, except I know Alan has one. I knew what you meant. I actually haven't heard the Hounds of Hasselvander record. But that Lady Killer one, it's probably on YouTube, man. You can find it and check it out. It's a cool record. You know, they did do a comeback record, and I was kind of afraid to listen to it. You know, I didn't want to be disappointed. Like, they're perfect in my head, you know? That's what I've heard about those 90s Pentagram records. But you know, I kind of like those 90s Pentagram records, you know? I mean, I'm not as big a Pentagram fan as some people. I've spent a lot of time listening to 70s shit. I really latched onto that shit for a while. And I like the, I don't know. There really aren't any I don't like. I just don't, I don't know. I never really latched on to the later, more sort of doom stuff the way I did the 70s stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty much true. And I like meat and potatoes, you know, when it comes to Saxon. So I'm on board with the meat and potatoes metal. But, I don't know, man. I guess I like hooks. I really do like hooks. And when a band has good hooks, I get sucked in real fast. Venom, hell yeah, man. All right. Yeah, this right here is the thing. There is good shit every year. And like, I don't know, you know, I wonder, I've been trying to sort of cultivate an attitude of being more open to that, you know, because I mostly collect old shit. You know, everything I spend money on is old shit. But I've gotten into some newer stuff in the last couple of years, and I've really sort of tried to embrace that, because what's the point in fucking looking back and sort of like, you know, the 80s, there was a lot fucked up in the 80s. You know, the 80s weren't that great. You know, my childhood wasn't like idyllic. You know, I don't want to sit around and like romanticize that. You know, shit's just fine now. You know, I'm probably in a much better place now. For one thing, I could buy good records now, you know. So yeah, so it just seems kind of misguided to fixate on a specific era like that, you know, especially since I like boomer shit, which isn't my era. You know, if I can listen to the Grateful Dead, what the hell? This fucking singer, dude. Fucking fact. Oh, dude, that's easy. Virgin Steel, because Manowar's fucking godly. I like Virgin Steel too, just not anywhere near as much as Manowar. Yeah, fucking Fuzz Trip, man. I got all sorts of good new shit from them, man. Hey, man. Good to see you. Thanks for showing up. Exorcist and Pile Driver. Okay, I don't have the Pile Driver, but I do have the Exorcist record. I like, dude, you know something? Here's the thing. All those fucking fake bands associated with Virgin Steel, I think they're all better than Virgin Steel. Like, I don't know Pile Driver particularly. I think I've heard some here and there, but I don't want to. I haven't like had the records. So I don't want to engage with it, you know. But that Exorcist record is great. Fucking that Original Sin record is pretty great. Oh, what else is there? There are a whole bunch of them. I'm just drawing a blank now. Yeah, I just turned 51, actually. So, yeah, Manowar. I've told the story before, actually. But you know who put me on to Manowar was the bass player for the Toilet Boys. So they were opening for the Damned, and they're friends of a friend. So I sort of ended up hanging out with them a little bit. I mostly ended up talking with the bass player, and he was hyping the shit out of Manowar. And like, you know, of the two of us, I was kind of the one who was more dedicated to metal. So I was like, well, shit, man, maybe I should give another chance. So I felt when the next time I saw a copy around of Hail to England at a little shop in Santa Monica, although I met the guys in Austin. So anyway, yeah, I grabbed it and I fucking loved it. I couldn't believe how good it was. It's still my favorite one. Welcome, dude. Hey, man, I came down on that Pink Fairies record. Yeah, I don't know Early Moods. I've heard of Early Man, but okay, here's another one. Do I have the Ray Gun LP? Do I have the Ray Gun LP? This guy? Yeah, I think you're why I heard the Pile Driver, actually. Yeah, this isn't the greatest thing ever, man, but it's a pretty cool record. It's about as good as the quality of those photographs. I haven't played this in a long time, though, man. I'm going to leave this out to listen to because it's a cool record. We're going to listen to Graven Image first, though. I don't even know if we'll get to Ray Gun. We'll see how long we last here. Yeah, so anyone else, if you want to throw out records, challenge me, see if I've got it or not. I'll pull it out if I do. So, and I already took the L on Metal Merchant and Liquid Earth, so don't mention those. I don't want to hear it. Dude, the Boomers made a lot of good music. You know what the Boomers were really good at is putting themselves out there, not being afraid to do that. You know what I mean? Like that whole sort of singing style that you hear in like some of my favorite singers, like Ian Gillan, like Dio, you know, just the really sort of, I think that it was really bad for music when Gen X came along, frankly, and not with the metal, which I think was also ours. I claim metal on behalf of Gen X. Like 80s metal is Gen X. The Boomers had something to do with it too, but it was mostly ours. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah, but especially with like the grunge bands and that sort of thing like that, that sort of sense of irony and reserve and sort of holding a little bit more back that Gen X brought in. I'm not saying there isn't a place for that, but I do kind of appreciate the Boomers' willingness to emote. You know what I mean? And it's like at the same time as I'll sit there and crack wise about Uriah Heep doing that "Come Away Melinda" song. I wouldn't have the balls to write a song like Gypsy, you know what I mean, with those lyrics. That just feels too, like, I don't know, weak, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, that Exorcist record is good. I mean, it's not the greatest thing of all time, right? I mean, let's be clear. And yeah, no stress, dude. Seriously. And the first 4 Manowar records are classic, and the next couple are really good too. It's funny. Even when I liked Manowar, I still only liked the really early shit for a long time. Like Kings of Metal was kind of too much for me, but my brother sort of put me onto it. He was like, "Oh no, dude, that's just when they're getting really good," And I sort of reassessed, and he's kind of right, but it's super corny, I don't know. The lines I draw around what's too corny and what isn't do not necessarily make sense, or consistency, even less. I'm just sort of cleaning some shit up here. All right, this is this one that we're about to hear. Graven Image. Yeah, Hail to England is fucking epic, dude. Yeah, the Ray Gun record. I like that record, man. I was kind of cracking wise a little bit, but Sign of the Hammer I liked less than the other early ones. Is this too loud? Actually, yeah, I fucking love this record, dude. This is so good. Jesus Christ. And this is an expensive record because everyone who hears it loves it. So I'm really glad there's that reissue, which you can get from me if you need a copy. So, and I kind of want to move them because I want to buy something rare for myself. And I'm not going to tell you what that is because I don't want to get screwed. I don't have that Medieval Reign. That's the new Renaissance band. I thought that's earlier than I thought they were, though. They did the Medieval Kills record and then Reign of Terror. Is that right, or is that a different Medieval? I don't have anything by them anymore. I had Medieval Kills once upon a time. I didn't think much of it, and actually, I let it go when I sort of fell on bad times at one point. I got rid of about half my collection. Almost 25 years ago now. So that went then, and most of the shit that I missed, I replaced. Most of it I didn't need to replace. It's not actually mint. I should probably rebag this, but it's good enough for me. This is actually one of the first like rare records I got. This guy's from Tennessee, from Memphis. It's a great record. No, and I started collecting like private press records, though. This is one of the first ones I tracked down. Fucking love this thing so much, man. The Dark Knight was another one I got early on, and this one is a lot better than Dark Knight. Fucking mustaches, man. So good. I'm just going to set this here for now. I don't think I have any Steel Assassin. Aren't they a little more recent, though? Like 90s or something? I could be wrong. Kings of Metal, the definitive album. I still feel like Hail to England is the definitive album, but the fact is, one of the songs is Satanic, which, while I love it because it amuses me, I don't know if that's really as true Manowar as like Vikings and Orson Welles, you know? So Kings of Metal is, I could believe this, even though of the first 6, I think that's probably my 6th favorite. That's as far as I have. Fighting the World is really good, man. Yeah, total fucking gem, dude. Love that. Warning of Danger, the Omen record? I'm going to put on Black Death after this. This is one of the greatest songs ever, man. This is Warn the Children. Yeah. I have a reissue of Night's Fall. I do not have an original. So I can pull that up, but it's just like a No Remorse reissue, or maybe it's even a High Roller. I don't know. It came out a few years ago. Yeah, well, Jane's Addiction isn't a metal band, but I don't know. I don't mind Jane's Addiction, but I've never really been a fan in particular. I've had friends who like Jane's Addiction, but it's sort of like my friends who like Raven, you know? We're looking for the Blessed Death. Yeah, there it is. This is a pretty good record. I actually got this because Scott Waters hyped it. I was curious, and it was a Roadrunner that I didn't have. But I don't know. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but it's better than I expected. Yeah, so I was joking about records to put away. All those ones sitting out in the front are records I've been listening to over the last week or two. So I don't know. That's maybe 60 over there, something like that. So yeah, putting away records is just sort of part of my routine. It is really good. Hell yeah, man. Graven Image is so fucking fantastic. Which follow-up? The follow-up, Blessed Death? Yeah, we'll see. I haven't really been in a thrash headspace lately. I've been sort of more into this chunky stuff, you know? It's funny because there are a few sort of thrashier things I've been peppering in a little bit here and there, but not really much. Now I'm trying to think of one and I'm coming up blank. So I've been peppering in more soul jazz than speed shit. So this just sounds so urgent, doesn't it? Like really alive and vital. Fucking Graven Image, man. They redid this. They put out an EP after this as a picture disc, and it had these 2 songs and then one other song too. But they re-recorded them, and they had, I think it was Rob Griffin singing instead of this guy, Mike Aldridge, and he's just not as good as this guy. This guy fucking sings his ass off. The other guy is like, oh, I could do that too, you know. So it's still good, but it loses a lot, you know. This also sounds more raw. The other one sounds more sort of restrained, the picture disc. So yeah, you really kind of need to go with the People at Hell on Ice Water, which has historically been the harder record to find, unfortunately. Yeah, I've seen the cover. I've seen that Blessed Death before, but I don't know. It just never really inspired me, you know. You know, sometimes a record grabs you and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it's kind of a bad name, Blessed Death, right? And then, oh, I don't know. I had some funny one-liner and I just lost it. I'm gonna check out a little Black Death now, because this is seriously one of my favorite records ever. I was going to start with side 2 because that's what I feel like hearing. With the Scream of the Iron Messiah. Did he have a fucking Black Death shirt in WKRP? That's a little hard to believe, but it's possible. I don't know if it's really plausible even. Jesus. How about that fucking riff, man? And I love it when they don't dub in a rhythm guitar. You just let the bass carry it. Fucking love it. So in this record, I actually have a press kit that I saw on eBay when I was living in LA, and it turned out the seller was none other than D.T. Richards, who ran Iron Storm or Metal Storm and Ironworks and Azra and all those fucking weird bands. Sup, Eric? Hey, man, I was talking about you earlier. Were your ears burning? So I could have just had him mail it to me, but I drove out to his place because I couldn't pass up the opportunity, right? So I actually hung out with Dave Richards for a little while, and so that's where some of my stories come from. So, like, the reason you always hear me say Jag Panzer and not Yag Panzer the way Alan says it is because that's how D.T. Richards said it. That's the closest to the sources I've ever come. So, and also, according to him, they got the band name from a license plate that some, like, Mexicans had on the back of their car in L.A. I was talking about something you put me on to, Eric. So anyway, yeah, it was from D.T. Richards that I got this like little press release from Auburn Records on their letterhead on this fucking promo photo. Handwritten names on the back there too. Yeah, dude, that guy was weird. Super nice. Super nice. One of the greatest records ever, man. Dude, how do you do that with the fucking make the picture like that? Are those Burmese letters in there for the fingers? Because the Burmese alphabet is really fucking cool. So, like, that looks like Burmese. That looks like Arabic. Like, you're digging deep into the Unicode if you're pulling that shit out, man. Dude, this happens a lot. And in fact, you know, it's almost telling that you two are here because two of the people who put me onto more shit than anyone else are Eric Bauer and Bananas from Grown Man Record Night. And, like, it's funny because, I mean, Eric is into all this punk shit and, like, DB shit that I don't give a fuck about. And Bananas was in a fucking new metal band, you know? So it's not necessarily the guys you'd expect to be putting me onto shit. But it's like, I think that I almost feel like with someone like Marty or Scott, like, our taste is too close. You know what I mean? We already have too much in common. Like, with those guys, there's just enough separation that they'll point in the direction of something that I might not have noticed already. You know what I mean? That's my working theory anyway. But it might just be coincidence, you know? What mood do I happen to be in? And then after a certain point, people have a track record, right? But yeah, Bananas put me on a lot of shit. Bananas basically got me hyped on that whole like stoner rock thing. Like if I hadn't gone up and hung out with Mikey Bananas, I might never have gone on that kick. But listening to that fucking Earth record in the middle of the night was like life changing, man. Right on. Well, we all love Rachel. Donald Byrd album. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's like if I really like something that you don't know, I can usually anticipate if you're going to dig it or not. You know what I mean? Based on what we do have in common, but there's still that sort of X factor there that makes it interesting, you know? So, I don't know. It's sort of a guess, but I think it's interesting. There we go, man. It's just fucking great, man. This record is so goddamn good. All right, what else y'all want to see? You got any more here? Want to try and challenge me here? No Metal Merchant or Liquid Earth? You want to see the Varvar? All right, should I flex a little bit more then? You want to see a couple more grails here? I was thinking about this with the Texas one because when it comes to Texas bands, I didn't have the Metal Merchant, but I have some other records from Texas. So this fucking Varvar, if you're watching this, you should run out and buy this. God, this record is so fucking good. There it is, man. They're stuck between Vardis and Vasco da Gama. So this fucking record rules. It's really good. And it's hard to get, especially now that you can't get shit from Russia anymore. Y'all fucking snoozed, by the way. Like all those fucking Russian records that I was showing about a year ago, before the fucking war started over there, you could get all that shit cheap. Now everyone's cut off. You know, you can't order from Russia anymore through Discogs and shit. And like they've made it really hard. So, yeah, it's a lot harder to get some of these Slavic records, man. But our friends over at Nuclear War Now, good old Yosuke, he's doing a bunch of mostly Russian reissues. And he already did the Aspid record, which you should also get because it's a fucking banger. And this one, I think, just came out. I don't think so. I have the Atomic record. I actually have a Czech pressing of the first Nocturnus record. I have that Drakkar record. Let's see. Is the Heavy Metal Obscurities dude still around? I'm going to pull some Texas ones in a sec. I'm just going to take a sip of my drink. God, it's so good, this fucking record. Bear with me a second. I didn't forget about y'all. Oh, shit. There's this fucking story about my great grandfather. He was kind of a drunk, and apparently one time, like one of the neighbors like looked out the like one of the next door neighbors like looked out the window. He had a fucking like power lawnmower, not a riding one, but just one that you push. And she saw the mower going by all by itself, and she went outside to check, and he was face down on the lawn. And she like called the fucking ambulance because she thought he'd had a heart attack or something, but he was just mowing the lawn drunk and passed out. That was my great grandfather. He was the last Mason in the family, actually. I do have a first tour. It's the only one. Hang on, we'll bust it out and then pump the flex. There it is. You know, Corey over at Just Add Vinyl, he found a copy of this at a fucking record shop in West Virginia. Isn't that fucking crazy? I don't remember where, like Martinsburg or something like that. Or, yeah. So, yeah, I like this record a lot. Not as much as Black Death, though. All right, you want to see some Texas records? It is a really good record, man. I've only played it a couple times, so. All right. Cool. All right, here's some shit from Texas, man. So this is a great record. Fucking banger. Smokes. It's also known as Future Nights. There's another pressing there. They sort of, it looks a little bit different, but it has the Dick Castle in both of them. Because if you look at that, it's obviously a dick. I look at these fucking guys, man. These are some of my favorite band photos. Fucking guy holding the skull and shit. And the heavy metal capital spelled wrong. You gotta love it. Awesome. Thanks for coming by, Darren. I appreciate it, man. Here's another one from Texas. This fucking guy right in the middle there. These guys are kind of doing like a Queensryche thing. Not so much a straight up banger. The singer is kind of weak. But the songs are really good, man. It's just a really fun record. And again, it's just brimming over with that charm, you know? The label looks like. Next one's another one that Martin Popoff got me. Fucking Hammerwitch. Dude, this record is so fucking good, man. Jesus. They're from Dallas? Arlington, it says. Their management company. Yeah, 6 songs, man. Fucking awesome record. This one is just so good, dude. And here's the big one. Oh! That's an original. Only channel in the VC with one of those, as far as I know. Yeah, if something's from Texas, I'll pretty much automatically grab it. But I talked about some records at the, which it's only 11 o'clock, dude. This is just like evening to me. like the way time works for me, it's like morning until like 1 or 2, and then it's afternoon until like maybe 7 or 8, and then evening is from like 8 until like midnight or 1, and then it's night. That's sort of how I think about times of the day. So shout out to Vinyl Richie, by the way, man. I think everyone's subscribed. Not that I need to rep him because he has more subs than me now, but what else you want to see? Anything? What do you want to talk about? Dude, that's a really good kind of shitty record. Rox's Violent Beat. You know something? I like their EP too, man. The one that's even cornier. Shit, where's that fucking thing? Yeah, this one, man. Like the LP has some redeeming qualities, but this one is really kind of corny, you know? Crazy cuts. Like, fucking spelling the title like that would have put me off back then. Like, Rocks with an X doing crazy cuts with K's like that. I wouldn't have bought that in the 80s. Now I'm like, oh, give it to me, man. It's going to be awesome. That's pretty good. It really is pretty good. And look, it's on Music for Nations. So it kind of bears out everything I was saying about Music for Nations earlier, because it's crap, but it's good, you know? And the Music for Nations label can lead you in the right direction or in the wrong direction sometimes, and it kind of does both with that title, so it's kind of perfect, you know? Whereas I think they did a license of like at least one Alaska record, and fucking life is too short for that shit, man. All right, dude, I'm a little surprised by this, about the fucking the San Antonio Slayer reissues, because I fucking love that band. Here, I'll pull mine out, man. Fucking speaking of Texas. I pulled those out because those aren't as rare as the other ones. Those are probably at least 1,000 runs. Yeah, just go for the throat. And there's Prepare to Die. And these are fucking great, man. Both of these. This one's a little rougher. This one is more like fully realized metal. This one's also like 88, I think. And the other one's like 86. But they're both just awesome, man. And If You Want Evil is a pretty great song title, too. Yeah, how about that back cover on this one too, man? It looks so cheesy. Slayer, great record though, man. Don't listen to Eric. I think you might like Prepare to Die more than Go for the Throat because it's rougher. But dude, they're both great, man. I think you're gonna come around on Go for the Throat eventually. Don't get rid of it. Because one of these days you're gonna go pull it out and you're gonna go, holy shit, this is fucking great. I can't believe it, man. That Asura tape is probably the worst thing I have. But you know something? Marty had a worse one, and I was skeptical. Or he said he had a worse one, and I was kind of skeptical, but it was indeed pretty fucking terrible. Probably even worse. Yeah, I pulled that Fortress out earlier, actually. Hang on. Yeah, I think you probably know better than to get rid of it. But you know, like if you get tempted, maybe get another listen first. So. Yeah, hang on. Let me find the Fortress real quick. This one? This is a different Fortress. But there it is. Yeah, I think other people like this record more than I do, though, man. I mean, it's a fun record, and it's cool, but, like, I think the cover is more entertaining than the record, honestly. You know, it doesn't quite live up to that, in my estimation. But it's a very cool record and a very fun record, and, like, it's not the sort of thing I'm going to mauled about if you put it on around me, you know? Yeah, Venetian Death Cell. Dude, Asura is really bad. Yeah, but Venusian Death Cult was worse. It really was, man. And I don't concede that kind of shit easily, man. Because I usually won't take a stand on something like that until I'm ready to really sort of put a stake in the ground. But goddamn, that was really fucking bad. All right, what are we going to hear next? Goddamn, I don't know. The other side of this Black Death is what we'll hear. I suppose I could put in that ray gun too, but hey, Farley. You know, anytime you're anywhere near Charleston, man, hit me up. But it is kind of funny because, you know, one thing I do more with records than I used to is how should I say this? Like, I'm more okay with the idea of passing on a record because I don't like the cover. You know, like, the cover can be bad. You know, like, I mean, I show bad covers all the time. Usually I prefer a bad cover, right? But it's got to be bad in a certain way. If it's just like, if it's, God, it's hard to explain this, man. If it looks low effort, I'll generally pass on it. And, I don't remember where I was going with that. Except that generally speaking, I only buy records with covers that amuse me at least a little bit, you know. If they do something really annoying, like make a box set out of it or something, I'll just pass. Like that Pharoah Sanders thing that just got reissued, that late 70s record just called Pharaoh, that was like a private press and is rare and expensive, the original. But like, and someone finally reissued it relatively recently. I saw they were talking about it on Rachel, and they fucking reissued it as a box set, like as 2 LP thing, and they put it in a box. I'm like, you know something? I'm out. Fuck that shit. I don't need to pay a premium to be inconvenienced by fucking, you know, I want to listen to a record and pull it out and enjoy it. I don't have to like fumble around with a fucking box just to listen to one LP. It's a pain in the ass, man. I just can't be bothered with that shit. Like, don't try to grift me, you know. I don't need to be. I spend enough fucking money on records. You know, I don't need to be grifted by a fucking box set or some horse shit like that. Yeah, there we go, man. Fuck box sets. I've actually been thinking about selling off all my box sets, which is like 5. Because I've kind of hated them for a while. It's just only recently that I've realized that I really hate it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you sort of have an awareness. You go, God, it's a fucking pain in the ass. Yeah, man, I don't know. They don't come to my streams. I never see them on my channel. But, you know, I have my own jazz records, too. Dude, totally, man. Box sets are total fucking bullshit, you know? And it's like, I want to say there are exceptions, there's a time and a place, but it's really hard to think of one, you know, where something is actually better by virtue of being a box set, you know? It's more like, if it's good enough, you're willing to tolerate it, you know? But yeah, man. Vinyl Richie's still watching. There's the jazz. Well, you know what the jazz section looks like. That whole top over here is jazz, though, too. I expanded that out. So over to the 45s there. And there are a few 10 inches over on the end there, but the rest is all jazz on the top. And then underneath is all metal. I had 2 CD box sets that I played a lot. It was a long time ago now. When I first moved to San Francisco, actually. Yeah, I completely agree. But there are 2 box sets that I got a lot of mileage out of. And one of them was Fats Domino. I love Fats Domino. I got rid of all my CDs. Well, almost all my CDs. I have about this many CDs now. But But I have some Fats Domino on record now. But I played that when I had that box set. I played that a lot, and an Elvis Presley one actually. I listened to a lot of Elvis. It was the box set of like the from the RCA shit from the 50s. And there's another one from the 60s. I just bought the 50s one, but I listened to that one a lot too, man. I've spent a lot of time listening to Elvis. So, yeah, it's one of those things, you know. If you're watching my channel, I sort of assume you know the canon, you know what I mean? You know the Stones. You don't need to sit here and talk about the Beatles or the Dead and shit like that. I mean, maybe if you're reassessing them, but... Yeah, I think CD box sets are kind of a pain in the ass, or kind of less of a pain in the ass. I don't really think about it in a while because I haven't had one in so long. But, you know, with the records, it's just kind of cumbersome, especially because the covers are more fragile. You know, you're trying to be more careful not to fuck up the corners and shit when you're taking them out of the box. Yeah, fucking box sets, man. Box sets are usually just a fucking grift. Yeah, actually, that reminds me. You know what box set I do have on CD? Oh, it's probably so torn up Rasputin bag at the shit's in. This is like shit that doesn't fit anywhere else. It sort of ends up off the side every time I move. And I kind of want to sell these because they're a pain in the ass, but like... This fucking Plastic People the Universe box set is pretty cool. Yeah, this is CD, but check this shit out. Like this hand numbering and like a fucking piece of styrofoam. Like they put all that weird cloth in there and shit. You see that? And then it's 8 discs. That's really kind of insane. Yeah, it's a really cool box set, isn't it? I got that when it came out. I actually got that at Amoeba in Berkeley before either of the other Amoebas opened. Yeah, the other thing that's in this bag is this fucking thing. It's a Spanish record. It comes in this weird, like, bag. And it doesn't fit on the fucking shelf, man. If you need this record, let me know, because we can work something out. I'm not going to give it away. Because it's a cool piece, you know? But, dude, fuck trying to file this shit. I mean, what the fuck, dude? Now I don't know what to do with it. It sits in this bag with the Plastic People box set. Dude, Got Live If You Want It is a great fucking record, man. That's one of the best live albums out there, I think, as far as, like, presenting what a band is supposed to... Like, as far as what a live record should be like relative to studio recordings, I think Got Live If You Want It delivers. No, not Got Live If You Want It. I was thinking of Get Your Yeah-Yeahs Out. Got Live If You Want It is good, too, though. Oops, I mixed up my Stones records there. All right, what else do y'all want to see? I'll show some jazz records. We want to see some jazz records. It's kind of getting on. I've been at it a couple hours. I might hang it up relatively soon. I'm going to let this finish, though, because it's so fucking good, this record. It was fucking Black Death, man. Good to see you on here, man. And there are thousands and thousands. There are millions of records, dude. I love Cecil Taylor. I really love Cecil Taylor a lot. Yeah, he can kind of do no wrong in my book. In fact, I was thinking about making a video. I've kind of talked about this a little bit before, but there are 2 records that I think really kind of represent... Well, this is the problem with the video concept, is I'm not quite sure what they represent. But if you take Jazz Advance by Cecil Taylor and My Name is Albert Eiler by Albert Eiler, obviously. Those two records both showcase a very like extreme and aggressive and really innovative free player against a relatively conservative backup band. Jazz, I shouldn't say backup band. Rhythm section is what I was trying to think of. And in both those records, you can sort of hear like the boundaries sort of being stretched and this tension between this band sort of settling into a certain kind of groove and the lead player sort of doing this other thing and this just sort of pushing that. And even though in both cases, I mean, My Name is Albert Eiler is not a fully realized record the way that Bells is, you know? And Jazz Advance isn't the fully realized record that Conquistador is or Nefertiti, you know? But those are both really interesting records, I think, for really sort of, you know, in like at the end of the 50s already, sort of showing where something was going and like other people who were also there who weren't ready for it yet. You know what I mean? Like you could say that with Ornette Coleman to a certain degree too, but I feel like on those early Ornette records, I feel like his band was a little bit more in on it than Cecil's band was on Jazz Advance. You know what I'm saying? So, and yeah, you kind of have to look for Cecil Taylor records. They don't just sort of, I mean, there are always kind of a couple kicking around, but like the really important ones, you know, they come and go and they get reissued. You know, you'll find unit structures and shit. But the thing is, like his Blue Note records aren't necessarily the best starting point with Cecil Taylor either. Yeah, anyway, I love Cecil Taylor. So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on Cecil Taylor. You know, Cecil Taylor kind of put me on to Dave Brubeck indirectly. Because when I read 4 Lives in the Bebop Business, which I read because Lester Bangs talked about it, I'll be honest. But he talked about, what he really talked about was how when he was young, he liked Dave Brubeck, but then he kind of turned on him when he got older, and I don't remember what he said about him, but like, I always thought Dave Brubeck was just kind of corny and throwaway and shit, but I was like, if he inspired Cecil, maybe I should give this shit another chance. That was when I really listened to it. I went, God damn, man, Take 5 is actually legitimately a great record, you know, or like Jazz Goes to College or whatever else, you know. So, yeah, I really like Dave Brubeck. And it sort of becomes one of those things where since he was on Columbia, and I mean, let's be honest, White, those records are so easy to find that it's easy to sort of suck them up. And then, you know, next thing you know, you're showing them on Rachel's stream and it's all the same shit over and over again, you know. But Brubeck is pretty fucking good if you just sort of like put a limit on yourself as far as how much you get, because you don't need as many as you'll see. Look, even the ballad is great. I do not have that Razor Maid record. Sorry. You know something? They're called Razor Maid. So I never really gave it a chance. I like that record too. It's probably not the one that I would pick out, but I like that record, man. It's a good record. The one I'd pick out would probably be Nefertiti or Live at the Cafe Montmartre, but it's like the same show or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the early free jazz is sort of like what that stuff is, you know? I mean, on the other hand, when I think about the free jazz stuff that isn't free jazz, I really like what some of the Blue Note guys, the more adventurous Blue Note guys were doing in the 60s when they weren't like doing free jazz, but they were clearly influenced by it. And like my favorite examples are Jackie McLean and Bobby Hutcherson and Gratian Moncourt probably too. So there are probably a couple others too. Larry Young I'd put in there. But those are the guys who were like, I mean, they were aware of free jazz. They weren't necessarily playing free jazz, but they were listening to it and they were a part of it. And they were also looking to grow in their own ways that were, you know, I think more bold than like that sort of 60s Miles Davis band, even though that was a great fucking band too. And if you think I'm going to sit here and shit on, you know, Herbie and Wayne, forget it. Unhinged free jazz from Astral Spirits. Why can't I place that? Yeah, Bill Evans, dude. That's another one. like I have too many Bill Evans records because I have like probably 8 or 10 or something like that, and it's like they turn up and it's easy to grab them, and you're like, okay, sure, but you know, there's just a limit to how much piano trio music I need in my life, you know. And Bill Evans is great, dude. I think like Waltz for Debbie and that what Live at the Village Vanguard, I think it is. Those are pretty much essential records. So I have to look into that. I feel like I might have something. I don't know. You turning into a pumpkin, man? You stay up later than I do. Dude, I can't imagine how hard it must be looking for records in Wyoming, honestly. Because nobody fucking lives there. You know, I mean, the shops probably aren't picked over, in fairness. But you know, the first time I'll tell everyone this: the first time I ever saw Wyoming Dave on a stream was probably Grown Man Record Night, but he was using a different alias at the time. It wasn't Wyoming Dave, but like somehow it came up. He was talking to somebody, mentioned in passing that he was from Wyoming, and I was like, "Really? You're from Wyoming?" And like, you know, and he was like, "Yeah, how come?" Like, sort of like I was gonna like rip on him or something, but it was like I was just honestly surprised because like you don't meet people from Wyoming because there aren't any fucking people from Wyoming. You know, if you're watching this from Europe, you might have no idea what I'm talking about. Wyoming is the least populous state in the union. Okay, there are fewer people in Wyoming than there are in San Francisco, and like not just like close. It's like there are twice as many people in San Francisco as there are in Wyoming, and it's a big state. So it's like you have like France and nobody lives there except like 250,000 people. We have electricity everywhere thanks to FDR, man. Dude, I'm not shitting on Wyoming. I'm just saying nobody lives there, man. I mean, Wyoming's beautiful. Devil's Tower, man, fucking unbelievable. And I mean, Yellowstone, you know. If I were just skiing, I could probably say more about it. I broke down once in Cody, Wyoming. I was driving across the country with my dad, and out of the car overheated or something. So we ended up spending in the afternoon in Cody, Wyoming, while someone was fixing the car. Yeah, whatever, dude. No shame. It's all good. All right, and shout out to Marty, who's doing the laundry. Piano trio records, man, there's some really good ones. Now, these days, I generally go for like an electric piano, you know, like a fucking Fender Rhodes or something like that over it. But, you know, the percussive sound of the piano is really awesome too, man. And like Bill Evans, if you're willing to like sit down and really like listen into it, man, those records really are great. He was a hell of a fucking player, man. And you know, there are other guys. I really like Herbie Nichols. I really like Elmo Hope. I like Red Garland a lot, man. The fucking Red Garland trio is really good, you know. So yeah, there are a lot of piano trio records that I do not mind keeping around. It's just easy to get. Like if you start buying every fucking Oscar Peterson record you see, you know, sooner or later you have all these fucking piano trio records, and you're like, okay, you know, there's like other instruments out there that I'd like to hear once in a while. So. Yeah, that tracks, man. So some guy I met on the internet, his wife's brother lives in Wyoming. That's about how close most Americans get to Wyoming. I mean, I live in South Carolina. It's not that big a state. You know, it's sort of like in the middle, population-wise, but still as many people as like Norway, you know, or Denmark. That's all going to come down to the mood, man. But I'll tell you something, if I'm in a big black kind of mood, Bill Evans is not going to scratch the itch. But if I'm in a Bill Evans kind of mood, Big Black probably isn't going to scratch the itch either. This is what I would expect to suck about Wyoming, actually. It's just that it's all tourism. I mean, probably half the people there are tourists, right? It's sort of like living in Hilton Head or something, I would imagine. So, yeah. Yeah, one celebrity doesn't necessarily make your place like rich. There's still a fair bit of poverty in Charleston, even though Bill Murray has a place here. And apparently, people see him around occasionally, but I never have. All right. Well, I think I'm going to turn into a pumpkin pretty soon. It's been a lot of fun, but I'm kind of running out of gas here. So, any last minute requests or anything before we hang it up? I really appreciate everyone coming and checking this out, though. It's pretty awesome that I can just sort of go on pretty much randomly, and almost 40 people show up to hang out. So, I was a little nervous. I don't stream very often, and if no one shows up, it's lame. I wasn't going to just sit here and fucking. I don't know. I figured worst case scenario, I could do one of these and play some Isaac for a while, This is a lot of what I do during the day. Here, you want a little fucking glimpse into the metal theologian's life? Usually I sit on the other couch, but put on some records. We fire up the switch. Hey, thanks for the encouragement, man. And one thing that's really cool about the Binding of Isaac, you hear the sound effects. I'm playing as a keeper right now. That item kind of sucks. Actually, it's not all bad, but you see, it has. You can turn off the music, but leave the sound effects. The music on this game is actually pretty great, but I always listen to my own music, right? So I'll sit here and do this and play some Isaac. There we go. Bust that item out real quick, but you got to keep the nickel when you're playing as a keeper. You'll get fucking killed. So, anyway, there we go. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to do when I hang it up here. I've thought about streaming video games because it'd be kind of fun, but I'd have to figure out how to do it on the laptop. I don't really play on the PC because I work on the PC, so I prefer to stay away, right? But I was thinking it might be fun if I put a GoPro on my head because when I was playing and shit, it'd be extra funny when I got pissed. I went, actually jerk back like that. Dude, I hadn't played video games in probably 20 years until I started playing them again when I had kids. So, yeah, something, dude? So would I. And you know something, man? I did that for a long time, but I kind of feel younger now that I don't. Not so much NCIS, but I used to travel for work, and I learned that when you're in a hotel room, no matter when you're there, one of the channels will have some Law and Order spin-off on it, or not spin-off, but they sort of franchise it and all these other things. Yeah, dude, Blaster Master, that's a fun game, dude, but not being able to fucking save it is hard. Merciful Fate bootlegs. All right, the only ones I really have are those Satanic Nightmare ones, the sort of semi-bootleg ones. Here, I'll blow up my Merciful Fate records real quick, or the early ones at least. All right, we'll go out with these guys. So I have the later ones, all the more recent ones, because those are all cool. Dude, Pac-Man is pretty good, but I could kick your ass at Ms. Pac-Man. Well, I used to, when I was working in downtown San Francisco, there was an arcade. This is when I was consulting at Wells Fargo, actually, back in the late 90s. There's an arcade still, and I would go in there on my lunch break and play Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man. I'd put a quarter and I'd play it for an hour, one game, and I was done. I'd go back to work after that, So I actually just got this one recently from Jurgen. This guy, Live from the Depths of Hell, which is really kind of just a live recording bootleg. This is the early shit. A lot of this is that sort of vampire stuff. Was it Curse of the Vampire, the one I just showed, whatever it's called. spacing. That's why I'm going to hang it up soon. But you know, it's sort of a boot, but it's like one of the ones that every Merciful Fate fan kind of has if you're buying them all. So, of course, don't break the oath on Music for Nations. By the way, it's Music for Nations Press. So, there you go. Got this one at Amoeba Hollywood. It's my Black Masses Black Funeral 12-inch. This is my Megaforce press of a Melissa, which is one of the first records I ever bought on eBay. The first records I ever bought on eBay were Welcome to Hell by Venom and Melissa by Merciful Fate. I actually also got a copy of the EP in the same package with this one, but it had a black border. I upgraded it to this one, which I actually got off the wall at Amoeba San Francisco because they had it priced what they thought was high, but it's probably worth about twice what I paid for it, or was at the time. So, yeah. Merciful Fate EP. So there we go, man. We're going out with a bang because those records are all fucking bangers, man. If you don't think Merciful Fate is a great band, then I don't know what you're doing here. Except I do. You're just hanging out. It's all good. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm going to play a little Isaac. Maybe listen to a podcast, listen to some records. That's what I do. Rocky Erickson, I do. I just have the one solo record. I have the Edsel version of that one. Hang on. What the fuck? It's all the way over in the rock. You know something? I can't find it right now. I shifted my records. I moved a bunch of shit around because I had to I didn't have shelf space. I got some new shelves and moved the shit around, and I can't find it. So I actually didn't realize it, but it went right from I was missing a Freedom's Children record that I was going to show too. So I must have just like put one of the sections in wrong or something. I'll figure it out when I'm not streaming, when I'm not live here. But the only Rocky Erickson solo record I have is the I think it was on Edsel. It's called I Think of Demons. And it was basically the same like 80 or like 78, somewhere between 78 and 1980 cuts that he did. It's like a Two-Headed Dog and Night of the Vampire and all those songs and shit like that. Yeah, so I have that one. And then I have the first two 13th Floor Elevator records still too. I had a copy of Blow the Woods, but I'm pretty sure I sold it. It's a good record. I just never played it. And there are other people who enjoy it more. So, all right. Yeah, Rocky Erickson's awesome, though. I tried calling him on the phone, actually, when I lived in Austin, because he was listed in the phone book. And there was one record store. There's a T-shirt that I haven't worn in a few years, I don't think, in a video, but it has like an eye and a pyramid, and it's a 13th Floor Elevator shirt. And I got it at a shop in Austin when I was living in there, and apparently Rocky Erickson like was getting paid off those shirts a little bit too. So I don't know exactly what the deal was, but it was like good karma to be buying one of those shirts because, you know, he wasn't doing all that well. So anyway, that's all my stories about Rocky Erickson in Austin. So thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate y'all tuning in, man. It means a lot. And it's fucking fun, man. So thanks for keeping me company while everyone's out of town this week. I'll see you soon. I'll make a video sometime before too long.